Shalom, family. I hope everybody is doing well. It's good to see you. And I know many of you were waiting for this particular topic, and I'm kind of glad you are, because this royal family is just not what you think. But one thing about these folks that are running things right now, they always want you to believe they're original somewhere. But when you go look at the history, they are not original anywhere. Okay, they're not. All of the lands that you see them in, they have hijacked. Even all of Europe, all of that is hijacked land. Land that they went in and stole and killed the original inhabitants that were on the land. They are not original anywhere. So that being said, look, everything you see in your face is Hannah pointed. Okay. Now, even those Jews over there in Israel, man placed them over there. Remember, the Most High chose the Jews. He didn't choose those people over there. The UK put them over there. But we're supposed to all just go along and be ignorant and say, yeah, those are the original Jews of the Bible. Well, all of this royalty that you see, all of it, listen to me now, all of it are a bunch of hand-appointed people. They are not somebody like King David, where the Most High chose him to be the king. It's nothing like that. It's like, oh, we need someone for the throne. We pick you. It's that kind of thing. Okay. They have no real true royal bloodline. And it's a very modern royal family. This royal family do not date back thousands of years. It dates back a few hundred years. That's it. Okay, a few hundred years. So it's very modern. It's not old. It's not, they can't link it to anything ancient, nothing like that. And I got a small video clip. I want you to see how Queen Elizabeth is even lying about her lineage. She is claiming a Hebrew and Egyptian lineage. And we know damn well this woman don't have no Hebrew and Egyptian lineage. But, everything about these folks is nothing but straight up lies. We know that by now. That is the awakening going on. A lot of people are realizing things that we thought were a certain way are not like that at all. All right. So let's go ahead and get started, y'all. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. If you can see my screen, please give me a 1. Okay. All right. So let's start with the background of the royals. They are actually Germans, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just hold on 1 second. I'm going to pull you up on my phone. That way I can see you as I'm talking. Because usually when I go full screen, I cannot see y'all. So that's why when you give a super chat, I don't say anything because I don't see you. Okay. Okay, I'm ready now. Okay. All right. So these folks that are on the throne now actually stem from Germany. In fact, King George I, who was the first to rule on the throne, was hand appointed. He had no royal bloodline, no nothing. He was German, and they brought him in. He sat on the throne of England and could not speak a lick of English. Okay. And if you even want to look at them today, Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's husband, he speaks fluent German. Okay. So, because that's his lineage, that's his real true lineage. And that's her lineage too. In fact, Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth are first cousins. Okay. So let's get to the royal family. So the royal family of England and Germany have many things in common. And people did not even realize, when this is when I found out, it was probably around the time when Princess Diana died, is when I found out the real background of this British royal family. So the British royal family is basically German. So the story begins in 1714. So it just goes to show you it's modern. It's only a few hundred years old. It is not something that goes back thousands of years. So 1714. This is the year that Britain's Queen Anne died. She died a very painful death, and she suffered from gout, a very bad case of gout. And believe it or not, she had approximately 17 to 18 miscarriages, y'all. I can't even imagine somebody having that amount of miscarriages, but she had that many miscarriages back then. So this was a tense era. Now, remember, chattel slavery was going on in America when this not monarchy, but this royal family was just getting started. Chattel slavery was already in full swing in America. So that just goes to show you how recent it is. Okay. So after Queen Anne died, her father took the throne, but he ended up getting kicked off of the throne. So that was James II. He got kicked off of the throne. So what they did was they found a man called George Ludwig, who was a German, and he was hand appointed to sit on the throne. So he was hand appointed from Germany, George Ludwig. So he actually became George I of Great Britain. And when he sat on the throne, y'all, this man could not speak 1 ounce of English. He spoke fluent German sitting on the English throne. Woo. All right. So, that's very funny. But, his taste in women was really funny to me. They said they used to call him, because he spoke fluent German, he was called the Turnip King. And he rejected women, but the kind of women he liked fat women with nice breasts. I kid you not. He liked fat women with nice breasts. Okay. So he died, of course, and then came along George II, who was his son. Okay. So his son was the first to be able to speak English on the throne. So that was George II. So he was able to speak English. And then from him, it went to George III. Okay. And on becoming the king, he famously declared, "Born and educated in this country, glory to the name of Britain." So, by the time it got to George III, they finally got the English down pretty good. The few monarchs later was Queen Victoria. Despite being the icon of British, she was still a German. She was a German. So her first language was German, and she ended up she did learn some English, but her first language was German. And she married her cousin, who was also German, Albert. Their German heritage directly shaped the aspect of British culture. Most notably was the way they celebrated Christmas. Prince Albert's fondness for German festive tradition kickstarted the Christmas craze that you see now over in the UK. The close ties between the British royals and the continental counterparts. It was Kaiser Wilhelm II, the great German villain of World War One, once happened to be Victoria's grandson and first cousin to British George V. Indeed, it had been speculation that the Kaiser tortured somewhat. So Victoria, you know, this Kaiser was related to Victoria. So as you can see, everything was German, 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 German in the beginning of this royal throne. George V, meanwhile, felt pressured for, an anti-German sentiment. So during the Great War, even so far as to change the name of the royal household to Saxe Coburg Gotha and English Windsor. So if you remember, when you saw their weddings, they would always talk about the House of Windsor, the House of Windsor. That all came out of Germany from their German predecessors, the House of Windsor. So the royals moved beyond tradition, marrying the right people. In other words, incest. Incest was marrying the right people. Oh yeah, and in fact, it is noted during the Dark Ages, y'all, those castles were filthy. They were filthy. They would pee and poop anywhere in those castles that you see. And by the way, most of the castles that you see in Europe were not even built by white people. They weren't. They were built during the time the Moors ruled. So when even those small castles, these folks didn't build that. But they'll tell you they did, because they're trying to make you believe they belong somewhere. But they did not build that. Most of those castles, even still, when I used to live for a short period of time over in Germany, and you could still see the Moorish figurines, the original family that lived in the castle, still way on top of the castle. You still see that. And you still see even the coats of armor, and you see the Moorish figurines on the coats of armor. Those are the original people. These folks that are walking around in there now, none of them are original people. And that's what throws a lot of people off. So as you can see, this royal family, 1714, they're not old, they're modern. Okay, so marrying the right people means incest. Everybody is a cousin of somebody, all that. No, let them come and troll, because you know what? It is confirming everything that I'm saying. They want to come and disrupt it because they know what I'm saying is true. So the royal family, y'all, is a bunch of German imports. That's all they are. They don't have no real true bloodline. And anything of importance, like a title or a queen or king, go look up where it originated. They all originated from hand-appointed people. All of the European countries over there that got kings and queens, because there are other countries. Oh, this is the king of Norway, and this is the prince of they're all hand-appointed, y'all. All of them are hand-appointed. And they can't stand that. And you know what? What drives them crazy is they don't know where they came from. All of their titles are recent. Go look. Whenever one of the royals get married, y'all, go look at where they originated from. They originated from hand-appointed people. They don't have no more of a bloodline than my cat Loretta. Cat Loretta got a royal bloodline if they have one. So don't worry about them trolling. That right there confirms they don't want this out. They're not original people anywhere. Okay, so stick around. I want you to hear the slavery part. Don't go away. Don't go away. Let the troll stay. Let the troll stay. You're making this even more interesting. Now, everything that the royal family have, ladies and gentlemen, every dime, every $1 trillion they got, Queen Elizabeth, what, $2 trillion? All 2 trillion came from slavery. Every dime of the British royal family's money originated from slavery. They didn't earn crap. So they got a lineage of do-nothing people who don't have no real royal bloodline and got all their money from slavery. That's where it came from. So let's get into the throne of blood, profiting from slavery. In Britain, as in the United States, an anti-racism protest had erupted since the police killing of George Floyd. But, ladies and gentlemen, that royal family is knee-deep in slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. British universities and London financial institutions' existence all come from slavery. All of it. All of it. This is why they are constantly faced with people calling for reparations for the enslavement of Black people, even from the UK. But one institution that remains silent is the British monarchy. Still, it's no secret that the history of the British royal family is intertwined with slavery. You trolls hear that? Intertwined with slavery. The slave trade initiatives endorsed by the English monarchy began with Queen Elizabeth I. Enthusiastic support of John Hawkins' slaving extraditions in the 1560s. In 3 separate voyages backed by government officials, London merchants, and the Queen, Hawkins raided African settlements on the west coast of Africa and seized hundreds of enslaved captives from the Portuguese ship. In defiance to Portugal's dominance over the European slave trade in Africans, Hawkins sold his cargo of slave captives in the Spanish Caribbeans. After this profitable second voyage, the Queen honored Hawkins with a coat of honor and crest, and it was featured a nude African bound with rope. That's what's on his coat, his shield that he got. Such nice people, right? They want to be seen as nice people. No, you're not nice people. During the reign of King Charles II from 1660 to 1685, the crown and members of the royal family invested heavily into the African slave trade. Okay, seeking to bolster the wealth and power of the restored monarchy to supplant the Dutch in the Atlantic slave trade system. Oh, they just all got in. The English, the Dutch. Oh, yeah, they just all got in on it. The Portuguese, the Spanish. Everybody was trading us, trading our forefathers. Everybody. Okay. So Charles granted a charter to a company of Royal Adventures into Africa, a private joint stock company. And remember, they colonized Africa. Remember that. Remember that. Thank you, Willie Combs, for the super sticker. Okay. So the Royal Adventurers, a 1,000-year-old monopoly over trade, land, and adjunct islands along the west coast of Africa, stretching from what is known as Cape Blanco, Western Sahara, in the north to the Cape of Good Hope in the south. The king lent the company a number of royal ships, including a vessel called Blackamoor. Now, I know y'all heard of that, Blackamoor, and reserved himself the right of 2/3 of the value of any gold mines discovered. So they just went in there, found all the goodies, all the resources, and just took over everything. Controlling English trade with West African gold, hides, ivory, redwood, and ultimately slaves offered the prospect of revenue stream that would enable the crown to gain financial independence from Parliament. They got every dime, ladies and gentlemen, and still living on that slave money to this very day. Yes, the German imports, aka royal family, is still living off of the wealth they gained through slavery. Okay. From its founding, the Royal Adventurers benefited from royal connections and the royal crown's political and financial backing. More than half of the original beneficiaries of the first charter were peers or members of the royal family, including the king himself. The company intimacy with the royal family proved particularly attractive to investors seeking to profit from a trading monopoly with West Africa and the sale and exploitation of African men, women, and children. In 1663, the Royal Adventurers received a new charter explicitly granting the company an exclusive right among English traders to purchase enslaved captives on the West African coast and transport them to English colonies in the Americas. So look like, y'all, we shouldn't just be asking for reparations here. We need to be demanding it from the UK too. Okay? Sponsored by the King's inner circle and politicians and couriers expecting to use the African trade for personal profit. And they did. Upon embarking, Africans who survived the horrors of the Middle Passage were sold to English buyers and to foreign traders looking to acquire slaves for transshipping to Spain, America. By 1664, the company had delivered more than 3,000 enslaved men, women, and children to Barbados, and 780 African captives to Jamaica. Okay. So now you're seeing how much of the islands ended up with so many slaves. And now you're looking at the offspring of those slaves. Now you know. In England, new coins minted from African gold called guineas entered the circulation stamped with an elephant, the distinctive emblem of the Royal Adventurers under the monarch head. The message to the public was clear. The king had successfully expanded English interests in Africa, enriching the mother country and strengthening its Atlantic empire. The company's initial success was short lived. However, in 1665, the royal adventurers ran into financial difficulties, resulting in mounting unpaid debts owed by colony planters who had purchased African captives from the company on credit. The arrival of the Dutch naval force, intent retaking the forts on Africa's Gold Coast, further eroded the company's position. Commercial rivalries with Holland over the control of African trade sparked a second Anglo-Dutch war from 1665 to 1667. Man, these people wanted slaves so bad, they broke out into a war over who was going to control the slaves, the Dutch or the English. Woo, man. They fought over the slaves. With the company finances in tatters and the business disrupted, competing English merchants moved in, helping to sustain the supply of enslaved Africans to England, plantations, and colonies. So just like we were on, our forefathers were on plantations here, our forefathers was over there in England on plantations there. Right. So the Royal Adventurers was dissolved in 1671 in favor of a new monopoly trading company. By the time King Charles II granted a charter to reorganize Royal African Company of England, 1672, the demand for slave labor in the Americas had intensified. Ensuring a steady supply of African captives to the England, Caribbean, and North American colonies promised not only to generate profits for shareholders and the crown, but also expanded England's imperial footprint in the Atlantic world. They're talking about over here. As English planters in the Atlantic colony clamored for more enslaved Africans, England enslavers profited and the African slave trade expanded. The Royal African Company of England, notes historian William Pettigrew, shipped more African slave women, men, and children to the Americas than any other single institution during the entire period of the transatlantic slave trade. If y'all remember during George Floyd, they tore down statues here and they also tore some down in England. And I believe one of them was William Pettigrew. Very interesting. So they were heavily involved in getting slaves here to the Americas. The company's seal captures how English enslavers, with crown encouragement, eagerly harnessed the lives and bodies of Africans to generate commercial wealth and build an overseas empire. The seal shows an elephant bearing a castle, flanked by two enslaved African men. Surrounding the figures is the company's motto: by royal patronage, commerce flourish, by commerce the realm. From its founding in 1672 and 1688, James, he was the Duke of York back then. The future King James II served as the governor of the Royal African Company and its largest shareholder. James also held the position of Lord High Admiral, which enabled him to exercise punitive power over anyone who challenged the company's monopoly in West Africa or the English colonies. So intimately intertwined was the English monarchy with the slave trade, that the company left a permanent mark of royal ownership on the bodies of the enslaved. Before their departure for the Americas, African captives were branded on the right shoulder or breast with letters DY, which stood for Duke of York. Okay. The Glorious Revolution of 1688-89 dethroned King James II and undermined the privileged position of the Royal African Company. With the company's royal patron out of the picture, English merchants seeking access to West African markets and colonial planters demanding greater numbers of enslaved Africans at lower prices erode the company's attempt to maintain a monopoly. In 1698, Parliament opened the slave trade to all English traders. Independent traders were required to pay 10% duty to Royal African Company to help maintain its African forts. When this act expired, it was 1712. An official era free trade began. Millions of Africans were captured, tortured from their families, forcibly transported across the Atlantic, sold to the highest bidder, and subjected to physical, psychological, and sexual violence by their enslaver. During the peak years of the Atlantic slave trade between 1690 and 1807, European enslavers carried approximately 6 million enslaved Africans to the Americas. Almost half of these captives arrived in British or Anglo-American ships. Protected by the Crown and Parliament, the slave trade became one of Britain's most profitable industries. The production of popular, labor-intense agriculture products such as sugar, tobacco, cotton, and coffee in the Atlantic colonies hinged on regular supplies of African captives. The vast majority of enslaved men, women, and children were destined for sugar fields of Brazil and the Caribbean islands. As the British Atlantic Empire became more resilient on the labor of enslaved Africans, critics of the slave trade and colony slavery were marginalized or dismissed by radicals. Meanwhile, enslaved men and women took matters into their own hands, struggling against slavery and racist colonial regimes from below. By running away, refusing to work, and, fending illness and rebelling collectively over and over, enslaved Africans and their descendants made it clear that their lives matter. Some of the African descent gained their liberty, joined by transnational abolitionist movements, and made both anti-slavery and anti-racism central to their mission. During the lengthy reign of King George, 1760 to 1820, Atlantic slave uprisings and multicultural coalitions of abolitionists transformed the British public view of the slave trade. At the same time, the Crown supported slavery. The pro-slavery views of the king and his sons bolstered the efforts of the London Society of West India Planters and merchants to delay the abolitionists of the British slave trade for nearly 2 decades. George's third son, Prince William, served as a Navy He served in the Royal Navy as a teenager and was the first member of the royal family to visit Britain's North American and Caribbean colonies. And that was in 1799. So in 1799, William, now the Duke of Clarence, delivered his maiden speech in the House of Lords against the abolition of slave trade, printed by a pro-slavery lobby. So these people were actually for slavery. That's what, their big speech was about, trying to keep the institution in place. And look, by then, they made a lot of money. Look, in the 1660s, they started, and this was 1820. Yeah, so now you can see how they became so rich. And Queen Elizabeth is what, the richest woman in the world? I mean, I got to go back and look. The last time I heard, I think she was $2 trillion rich. And as you can see, every dime of it came from slavery. It all came from, man, well, these people are, so we need to be, UK, y'all owe us money too. You ship people over here too. Y'all owe us money. America and the UK owe the Black community a lot of money. Y'all need to pay up. Y'all need to pay up for real. Okay. Although the Slave Trade Act of 1807 made it illegal for British subjects to buy or sell African captives, demand for slaves remained high in the Caribbean, Brazil, the Spanish colonies, and the United States. After 1808, as the illegal slave trade flourished, European enslavers transported millions of enslaved Africans to the Americas, many in ships built, financed, and outfitted in Britain. In the decades after the abolition of the British slave trade, enslaved and free people of African descent petitioned the crown repeatedly, seeking royal intervention on their behalf in their quest for liberty and civil rights. These petitions largely fell on deaf ears. Even after Parliament passed the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, which ended slavery in the British Caribbean, and also the Cape Colony of South Africa, enslaved people not immediately received their freedom. The negotiated settlement required enslaved men and women to continue their labor for the former masters as unpaid apprentices. Oh, these people are dirty. They are dirty. You're supposed to be free, and they're making you work as, instead of being called a slave, you're an unpaid apprentice. Oh, these people are rotten. Rotten. And also granted 20 million pounds in compensation to Britons with financial interests in slavery. Former enslaved people and their descendants received nothing other than recognition of their status and free subjects of the British sovereign. So, in other words, anybody that had a slave got compensated. And if you were a slave, you got nothing. Isn't that what America did? They gave reparations to slave owners, gave nothing to the slaves. Wow. So it looks like a lot of what America did mirrors the UK when it comes down to slavery. Wow. Wow. That's all I have. So y'all, never mind this royal family, a bunch of fakeified German imports. But I want y'all to listen to Queen Elizabeth's alleged lineage. It's all fake. Y'all going, this is going to tear you apart. Let me pull this up. Let's see here. I got it on here. We're just going to see just a little bit of it. I can't really, let's see here. See if I can. All right, let me share this. See if I can get this together. I don't want that. I don't want that on the screen. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm gonna make it a little bigger. All right. Thank you, Only the Lioness, for the super chat. Yeah, well, you know, the U.S. and Great Britain, they always had close ties, and they still do. All right. Now listen to this background, y'all. Come on. All right, here we go.
Today, Queen Elizabeth II is the head of state of the great nation of the Hebrew Covenant called Great Britain. Her genealogy chart, according to the College of...
Now, did you hear that? The Hebrew Covenant. She is the hierarchy of the Hebrew Covenant of England. Now, we know this woman ain't no damn Hebrew, right? We know this. But this is what they're saying. All right, let's listen more to it. I want y'all to listen closely to what her background is. It's all a straight up lie.
In London, traces her blue bloodline back to Abraham, who many modern scholars believe to be the Egyptian pharaoh, Amenemhet I. By connecting 22 dots, the true Hebrew and royal Egyptian identity of Queen Elizabeth II comes into focus. Number 1. What is the stone of Jacob, a Hebrew patriarch, doing beneath the Queen's throne chair? Number 2. Why was the Queen crowned at her coronation ceremony on top of a symbolic Egyptian step pyramid? Number 3. The monarch's crown has 12 stones at the base, each representing the 12 Hebrew tribes. The 12 stones of the 12 tribes were also worn on the breastplate of Hebrew high priests in Canaan. Number 4. The Union Jack represents the reunion of the United Kingdom of the 12 tribes of Jacob, or Jacob. The Union Jack is red, white, and blue, the same colors as the 3 crowns of Egypt. Number 5. The royal scepter originates in ancient Egypt and was carried by the Egyptian god Amun and by Egyptian pharaohs, who called themselves the Son of God. The royal scepter is now carried by pharaonic descendant Queen Elizabeth II. Her scepter contains the world's largest cut diamond, called the Star of Africa. Number 6. The Queen's punishing flail or whip is partially hidden under her arm. The flail or whip also originates with the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Number 7. The symbol of the bee can be found within the Queen's royal wardrobe. In ancient Egypt, bees were the symbol of Egyptian royalty, as well as the symbol of Egypt. Number 8. The symbols on the British coat of arms reveal Britain's Hebrew origin. According to the Bible, the harp symbolizes the Hebrew King David. The biblical lion and unicorn holding up the shield symbolize the nation of Israel. The motto, Dieu et mon droit, means God and my right, indicating the divine right of the British monarch to an eternal throne. Number 9. The headdress worn by judges and the Queen's high-ranking officials originate in ancient Egypt. Number 10. Kilts, like the one worn by Prince Charles, originate with the Egyptian pharaohs who wore white kilts. Number 11. The hymn, Zadok the Priest, written by Handel, was performed at the Queen's coronation in 1952. Zadok the Priest was the biblical priest who anointed the Hebrew King Solomon while the people cried, "God save King Solomon, long live King Solomon, may the king live forever."
God save Queen Elizabeth.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard that? So she's claiming Queen Elizabeth, and I've heard her say one time, I was watching one of her speeches back, it must have been like back in 2012, y'all. And she said she was the lineage of Judah. I kid you not. It came right out of her mouth. I wish I could find that speech because I would play it for you. She said her lineage came from the tribe of Judah. So according to her, she's a royal because she shares Hebrew and Egyptian royalty in her background, which we know that's pure boo-boo, like y'all posted. But yeah, she's claiming the lineage of being a Hebrew and an Egyptian to justify why she is on the throne, why she belongs on the throne. But we now know she was just, her forefathers were hand appointed out of Germany to sit on the English throne, and that's it. They had no royalty, nothing. They were royal nothing, hand appointed. And somehow they faked up this background of her being Egyptian and Hebrew. I had to play that for y'all because I knew what the reaction would be. What Queen Elizabeth don't have. That woman, her lineage comes out of a cave, okay? I'm telling y'all the truth. Her lineage ain't hardly Hebrew or Egyptian. Her lineage comes out of a damn cave. They appointed a German man, George Ludwig, because Victoria's father was thrown off of the throne, so he was hand appointed. So George the First is the start of Queen Elizabeth's lineage out of Germany. George the First. But I don't know. I said, boy, they really sat down and faked up that background for her big time. She got Hebrew and Egyptian lineage, royal. Royal. She comes out of King David, King Solomon. She's Judah. And yeah, this is her background. Oh, it's like these people, what don't they lie about? For real, what don't they lie about? They lie about everything. Every damn thing about these folks is a big old fat lie. Well, a lot of, the crown jewels and everything she had, all of that was stolen from the Moors. Remember, they ran the Moors out of there. And when they did, they stole all of that stuff at those palaces that they have. All that stuff is Moorish. And that's another thing they won't tell you. They want you to believe these people have been around for thousands of years, just ruling everywhere, thousands. And no, they haven't. I even had someone tell me that. And I knew it was a lie. I just kind of chuckled to myself. I always laugh when they think you don't know history, when we do know history, we do know. Yeah, she's a brew Egyptian. Yeah, that's what she is. I mean, everything in her lineage, according to her, is black. So I guess Queen Elizabeth, she want to be a black woman. She want to be a black queen. That's what she wants. No, that's true about Queen Charlotte. No, Song of Praise. I did learn about that too. Yeah, I know. But y'all, this is what she's claiming. And a lot of them are lying about their backgrounds. She's not the only one. Even the ones that we live around, many of them are lying about their backgrounds too. So, I mean, it just go to show you what length these folks have gone through over the centuries to try to make us believe they are something that they're simply not. Look at how far they will go. Yeah. Well, I mean, Europe, I mean, it's named after Europa. Europa was black. Okay. She was black. And it's amazing how they kept the name Europe. They just took the A off, but Europe. But the original name is named after a black woman, Europa. Yeah, it is a wannabe. She is a wannabe. In fact, all of them are. You know, to be honest with you, I really don't care a lot about the Meghan Harry thing. That's why I never did a video on that. I don't care about them, you know. And besides, when Meghan was just before she married King, not King, but Prince Harry, they were asking her about her blackness, and she pretty much didn't acknowledge it. Oh no, I don't acknowledge. You know, she tried to not acknowledge it. And I never forgot that. And because of that, no, I'm not going to cover it now. One instance, you're not black, but now that you've been, you know, treated like trash by the royal family, you know, now all of a sudden you black, you down with black. I don't have time for people like that. You, to me, you either stay on team black or you don't. So she did not want to identify as black. I remember that. And I remember listening to her saying that. So that being said, no, I'm not going to do no videos on Harry and Meghan. I'm not going to do none. Just like I didn't do any videos on Tiger Wood. You're a Kablasian. Okay. I don't represent the Kablasians. So I'm not going to do no video on you. You go find the Kablasians that will talk about you. So when they won't claim black, I won't do videos on them. I'm sorry, I'm not. So Harry and Meghan, whatever they do, don't impact my life. So I don't care about them. I did see a couple of the videos that were out. I saw people put videos out, but I'm not putting no video out about them. Well, you know, Meghan tried to be transparent, and I guess they didn't accept that from her. So poor Meghan, whatever. Seriously, whatever. We sure were the Vikings, Tina Ferguson. We sure were. In fact, who do you think they learned from? They learned a lot of what they know from those black Vikings. But you know them, they gonna always deny learning anything from us or any of our forefathers. They're gonna always deny that. So now you know the British monarchy, what it's called today, is a very modern royal family. They don't go back thousands of years. Or they didn't get appointed by our Heavenly Father like King David did. See, he got appointed by the Heavenly Father. They got appointed by other lame ass Edomites. So who cares? Who cares about that royal family? They're not royal at all, technically. When you look at their background, they're not royal at all. Boy, they really know how to play stuff up, don't they? Well, everybody, I'm going to cut out of here. Thank you all for coming. And we'll definitely do this again, especially if another topic comes up. And there's topics coming up every day. There's no shortage. So everybody, enjoy the rest of your day and be on the lookout for my videos for tomorrow. Peace, family.